Hello, hello, hello. I am your host OCL, and welcome back to One Century Later. Today we'll be taking a look at all events from March 14th to March 20th, 1926. As with last week, all of my sources are in the description down below. Sunday, March 14th, 1926. Following the October 25th coup d'etat in Nicaragua led by former President Emiliano Chamorro Vargas, the resignation of President Carlos José Solórzano was accepted by the Nicaraguan Congress, with Emiliano Vargas installed as the new president. Also on this day, the train derailed in Costa Rica while driving over the Villarilla River Canyon at 8:20 a.m. local time. The six-car train had a maximum capacity of 300 people, but held over 1,000 when the train derailed and fell 190 feet to the bottom of the canyon. Either 248 or 385 died, depending on your source, and 93 more were injured. The final car on the train fell first, bringing with it the fifth and fourth cars. Monday, March 15th, 1926. Following the shooting of the Japanese warships on March 12th, signatories of the 1901 Boxer Protocol gave the Chinese government an ultimatum to remove all mines at the mouth of the Pei River and to end the blockade of Tianjin by Friday, March 19th. The ultimatum stated that warships from the US, the UK, France, Japan, and Italy would end the blockade by force if it was not met. Tuesday, March 16th, 1926. The murder trial against 5 fascists for the 1924 murder of Giacomo Matteotti on June 10th, 1924, began in Chieti, Italy. Of the 25 that had been arrested following the murder, 20 had been released by the public prosecutor or set free under general amnesty. Deputy Roberto Farinacci, the Secretary General of the Fascist Party, served as the defense attorney for the accused. If found guilty, the accused could spend between 4 years and 23 days to 6 years and 8 months in prison. Also on this day, Henry Segrave broke the record for the fastest automobile, reaching speeds of 152.3 miles per hour, breaking Malcolm Campbell's July 1925 record of 150.9 miles per hour. Segrave drove a 1925 Sunbeam Tiger named Ladybird on the Ansdale Beach near Southport, Lancashire, England. Unfortunately, the car's supercharger failed during the run, and Segrave was unable to beat the mile record. Also on this day, American Boston Terrier Sergeant Stubby passed away. Sergeant Stubby was the mascot of the U.S. Army's 26th Infantry Division of the 102nd Infantry Regiment. Sergeant Stubby saw action in World War I, where he proved to be invaluable to his fellow soldiers, being able to hear the whine of artillery shells before his human counterparts could, was particularly sensitive to mustard gas, assisted in locating wounded men in no man's land, and was solely responsible for the capture of a German soldier, the action which got him nominated for promotion to sergeant. Sergeant Stubby received a gold medal from the Humane Education Society, 2 wound stripes, and the Purple Heart for his wounds from a grenade. After his death, Sergeant Stubby was stuffed and is on display in the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. And lastly on this day, Robert Goddard launched the world's first liquid-fueled rocket in Auburn, Massachusetts, using a mixture of gasoline and liquid oxygen. The rocket, named Nell, rose 41 feet and traveled 184 feet laterally over its 2.5-second flight. Goddard was reluctant to share his work with anyone, and progress on liquid-fueled rockets faltered until the Germans' V-2 rocket in 1942. Wednesday, March 17th, 1926. Following the March 15th ultimatum, dispatches were sent from Tianjin stating that all mines at the mouth of the Pei River had been removed and the troops stationed at the Gu forts were being transferred to other locations. Also on this day, Russian General Alexei Brusilov passed away at the age of 72. Brusilov was known for commanding the Russian Imperial Army during the 1916 Brusilov offensive against the Central Powers in the eastern Galicia region of Austria-Hungary. During the offensive, Brusilov and his forces took 375,000 Austrian prisoners, while more than 440,000 of his own men were killed. Because of his offensive, Germany was forced to divert troops away from the Battle of Verdun, which helped to lead to a French victory at Verdun. Also on this day, Prime Minister Antonin Sverla of Czechoslovakia and his cabinet resigned after serving as premier since October 1922. Sverla resigned after failing to get approval for raising government salaries and increasing the tax on grain. President Tomáš Masaryk directed former Prime Minister Jan Černý to form a new cabinet. Thursday, March 18th, 1926. 25-year-old U.S. Army Second Lieutenant John Sewell Thompson became the first American military officer and only graduate at the United States Military Academy at West Point to be executed in peacetime. Second Lieutenant Thompson was convicted of murdering his fiancée, Andre Burley, on April 4, 1925, in Manila, and executed by hanging at Fort McKinley. Following China's acceptance of the ultimatum brought forth by signatories of the Boxer Protocol, demonstrators in Beijing took to the streets rejecting the removal of the Pei River blockade. A small group of protesters marched to the office of the provisional government and, after some confusion, were shot at by guards. 47 were killed and 100 others were wounded. This massacre would go on to be known as the March 18th massacre and be used in the much larger national protests against imperialism and warlordism. Also on this day, the Academia Athenon, or Academy of Athens, was established in Athens, Greece. Today, the Academy is the premier research institute in Greece based on the Academy of Plato from the 4th century BCE and is operated under the Ministry of Education. John Calvin Coolidge Sr., the father of the incumbent U.S. President Calvin Coolidge, passed away at the age of 80, 13 days before his 81st birthday. John Calvin Coolidge Sr. had administered the presidential oath of office to his son on August 3, 1923, after the death of the sitting president, Warren G. Harding, while serving as a Vermont Justice of the Peace. Friday, March 19, 1926. The last 8 members of the Whitmore Gang in New York were arrested at a nightclub in New York City, ending the bank and jewelry robbery spree throughout New York and Maryland. However, not before the Whitmore Gang stole about $624,000 worth since they began in 1924. Saturday, March 20th, 1926. The Gongshan incident, also known as the Canton coup, took place in Guangzhou when the commander of the Republic of China's Revolutionary Army, General Chiang Kai-shek, suspected a communist coup d'état against him after the sudden relocation of the gunship SS Zhongshan by its captain Li Yulong. General Chiang Kai-shek declared martial law in Guangzhou and arrested Li Yulong and other communist officials. Also on this day, Hungarian engineer Kalmán Tihanyi was awarded Hungarian patent P3768 for his invention of the charge storage television tube he called the radioscope, which solved the low electrical output problem from transmission tubes caused by low sensitivity to light. And finally, Louise of Sweden passed away at the age of 74. Louise had married Prince Frederick VIII in 1869 and ruled as Queen of Denmark from 1906 until King Frederick VIII's death in 1912, and as Queen Mother during the reign of her son, King Christian X of Denmark. And that is all. See you next week for all events from Sunday, March 21st, 1926 to Saturday, March 27th, 1926. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.